For other ships with the same name, see USS Chester. USS Chester, a Northampton-class cruiser, was the second ship of the United States Navy named after the city of Chester, Pennsylvania. Chester was launched on 3 July 1929 by the New York Shipbuilding Corporation, Camden, New Jersey, sponsored by Miss J.T. Blaine. Commissioned on 24 June 1930, Captain Arthur Fairfield in command, and reported to the Atlantic Fleet. Chester cleared Newport, Rhode Island on 13 August 1930 for an extensive European cruise. She visited Barcelona, Naples, Constantinople, Phaleron Bay, and Gibraltar before returning to Chester, Pennsylvania, for voyage repairs on 13 October. She joined the scouting fleet as flagship for Commander, light cruiser divisions, and on 6 March 1931, embarked the Secretary of the Navy for the Canal Zone, where he observed the annual fleet problem from Texas. Chester carried the Secretary back to Miami, Florida, arriving on 22 March, then sailed to Narragansett Bay for exercises and duty escorting to visiting French cruisers. Originally classified as light cruiser, CA-27, because of her thin armor. Effective 1 July 1931, Chester was redesignated heavy cruiser, CA-27, because of her 8-inch guns in accordance with the provisions of the London Naval Treaty of 1930. Following an overhaul at New York Navy Yard during which she was equipped with 2 catapults amidships, Chester stood out of Hampton Roads on 31 July 1932 with planes and ammunition for the West Coast. She arrived at San Pedro, California on 14 August, and joined in the regular activities of the fleet. Departing San Pedro on 9 April 1934 as flagship of Commander, Special Service Squadron, she arrived in New York on 31 May for that day's Presidential Naval Review, returning to San Pedro on 9 November. Ensign Ricardo Kane, who would win the Medal of Honor as the most successful United States submarine officer of World War II, served aboard Chester for 1 year as a junior gun division officer, and then as signal officer following graduation from the United States Naval Academy in 1934. On 25 September 1935, Chester embarked the Secretary of War and his party for a voyage to the Philippines in connection with the inauguration of the President of the Philippines Commonwealth on 15 November, returning to San Francisco on 14 December 1935. She resumed operations with Cruiser Division 4. Sailing from San Francisco on 28 October 1936, Chester arrived at Charleston, South Carolina on 13 November and departed 5 days later to escort Indianapolis with President Franklin Roosevelt, embarked for a goodwill visit to Buenos Aires, Argentina, and Montevideo, Uruguay. Chester returned to San Pedro on 24 December. Chester remained on the West Coast for fleet exercises and training cruises to Hawaiian and Alaskan waters from 1937. Except for a cruise to the East Coast for exercises and overhaul. Chester was one of 6 ships to receive the new RCACXAM radar in 1940. Home-ported at Pearl Harbor from 3 February, the cruiser exercised in Hawaiian waters and made 1 voyage to the West Coast with Commander, Scouting Force embarked. From 10 October to 30 November, she escorted 2 Army transports carrying reinforcements to Manila, Philippines Islands. Upon her return, she joined Northampton and Enterprise, and was at sea returning from Wake Island, when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Chester remained on patrol with Task Force 8 in Hawaiian waters. On 12 December, her planes bombed a submarine, then guided Balch to a depth charge attack which continued until contact was lost. Chester supported the reinforcement landing on Samoa, then joined Task Group 8.3 commanded by Adm. William Halsey for the successful raid on Tarawa. Retiring under heavy air attack, she received a bomb hit in the well deck which killed 8 and injured 38. The Chester was the only service ship to lose men in the first surface attack of the Pacific War. She returned to Pearl Harbor on 3 February for repairs,